never filmed this kind of video before. Background's different because I'm back home. And I was thinking about filming this a little while ago where I just like talk through all of my favorite books. And now that I'm home and I have all my books with me, I can do that now. If there's noise, I apologize. It is New Year's and it is like 12:39 a.m. So the crowds are going wild outside because New Year's. Okay, the order I'm doing this in is not any specific order. I'm just going in the order of my books on my shelves. It's not an order of favoritism, I can promise you that. But the first shelf that I have is most of my Grishaverse stuff. So here we go. Shadow and Bone, chronologically the first book series set in the Grishaverse. There's 3 books in it: Shadow and Bone, Siege and Storm, and Ruin and Rising. This is one of the newest book series that I read, and I got it recommended by a couple friends. And so I was like, you know what? I've been hearing a lot about it. I know there's a Netflix show. I might as well read the books. So I read through them pretty quickly, actually, I think. So Shadow and Bone, Siege and Storm, Ruin and Rising. They're pretty short books. They're not very big. The other books in the Grishaverse are bigger, I think. But it's a very good book series. I would highly recommend. It's set in this universe. And Shadow and Bone, these 3 are set in a country called Ravka. There's other countries surrounding it, but this one is mainly set in Ravka. And basically there's like regular people, regular humans, and then there's this type of people that are Grisha, and they have different types of powers, and they're set in 3 different like categories. So they're separated by the nature / type of power that they have, basically. Let me read you the blurb for the first book because I don't want to spoil too much. Okay. Alina Starkov is a soldier. When her regiment is attacked while crossing the Shadowfold, a swath of unnatural darkness crawling with monsters, Alina unleashes dormant magic not even she knew she possessed. So there we go. That's basically like the beginning of the plot. The main character is Alina. She has a power that she didn't know until, you know. Now Alina will enter a lavish world of royalty and intrigue as she trains with the Grisha, her country's magical military elite. That's right, they're in the military. And falls under the spell of their notorious leader, the Darkling. He believes Alina can summon a force capable of destroying the Shadowfold and reuniting their war-ravaged country, but only if she can master her untamed gift. But as Alina unlocks the secrets of her past, she will make a dangerous discovery that could threaten all she loves in the very future of the nation. A really good book. Yeah. I don't want to spend too long talking about each book, otherwise this video is going to be insanely long, and I already know it's going to be long because I'm at 3 minutes and I've only been talking about a singular trilogy. Now, chronologically, the next series in the Grishaverse would be the 6 of Crows series, which is a duology. It's just 2 books, 6 of Crows and Crooked Kingdom. Now, I liked Shadow and Bone, but I loved 6 of Crows. It's incredible. It's my favorite in the Grishaverse, I think. Heavy themes of found family. And if you know anything about me, I'm a sucker for found family. I love found family so much. So basically, 6 of Crows. There's 6 main characters, I'd say. Like, there's not really a main character, if that makes sense. There's like 6 of them, right? So, criminal prodigy Kaz Brecker has been offered a chance at a deadly heist, break into the Ice Court, a military stronghold that has never been breached, and retrieve a hostage whose knowledge could change Grisha magic forever. To succeed would mean riches beyond Kaz's wildest dreams, but he can't pull it off alone. And then it just goes to list the people that are on the heist with him, which is 6 people in total, because 6 of Crows. Now, this is set in the same universe, but it's mainly focused on Kerch, which is an island in the same universe, but yeah, very cool. And then second book, Crooked Kingdom, and as you can see, they are a little bit thicker than the Shadow and Bone books. So these are set chronologically 2 years after the Shadow and Bone series, I believe. But the Netflix show has them both set at the same time, but it like goes more into the backstory of the characters in these books. Netflix show is good, but it did get canceled, so that's a bit unfortunate. The next books are the King of Scars duology, which is another 2 books. I ordered them as a bundle on Amazon, but they came in different sizes, which is weird because they were advertised to be the same size. It is very irritating, but the covers are gorgeous. They're also kind of thick, But this takes place 3 years after Shadow and Bone, so like a year or so after Crooked Kingdom. So there is an order to it, and it has 3 main characters: Nikolai Lansov, Zoyana Zelensky, and Nina Zenik. And I don't want to say anything more because that is all it says in the blurb, because if I say more then I'm going to spoil the events in the other 2 books. But there's King of Scars and Rule of Wolves. And yeah, that was like the Grishaverse stuff. More books coming. I'm gonna go get them. This next book series is ongoing. It's the Atlas 6 series, which I have the Atlas 6 and the Atlas Paradox. I have them in hardback because I got them when they came out, kind of. The Atlas Complex, which is the 3rd book in the series, comes out on the 9th of January, so in like a week and a bit, which I'm praying that I can get a copy of. But Atlas 6 is so good. Again, 6 characters, similar to 6 of Crows, but that's where the similarities stop. 6 extraordinary magicians, 5 chances to win, 1 secret society. That's right, they're magicians, so everyone has like a different kind of magic. There's 2 of them that have similar specialties. Anyways, he knew even before he started talking they would all accept the offer. It was a formality, really. Nobody turned down the Alexandrian Society. Yes, Alexandrian Society, like the Library of Alexandria. Even those pretending disinterest would be unable to resist. They would fight, he knew, tooth and nail to survive the next year of their lives. And if they were as steadfast and talented as the society presumed them to be, most of them would. Most of them. But yeah, that's the 1st book. Atlas Paradox is the 2nd one. And yeah, I'm very, very excited to read the Atlas Complex, which is the 3rd one. Yeah. Okay, the next author that I have, the next shelf, has a bunch of different books by the same author. And I'll go in the order that I read them in. So the first ones that I read were the Court of Thorns and Roses. So I only have these 3. I don't have the Silver Flames one because I didn't really feel like I wanted to read that. I don't know. Anyways, ACOTAR is good. It's definitely, in my opinion, my least favorite of Sarah J. Maas's books. As in, I like the other 2 series more. Not necessarily that ACOTAR is bad, it's just I would prefer the other 2. These books, however, if you're not a fan of like more mature themes, I'd say avoid it, but just look at the warnings if you're not sure what to look out for. But yeah, it's this girl, her name is Feyre, and she's a human, but their world is kind of split between human and fae. Like there's a wall separating them, and in the fae world there's different courts and different types of fae. So she lives on the human side, but she crosses over to the fae side at some point. And she's kind of like held in the court of the fae person's domain that she stepped in. And there's like a whole story, and it goes into detail. And then the 2nd book is Mist and Fury, and the 3rd one is Wings and Ruin. But yeah, that's ACOTAR. And then the next series, the next series that I read is Throne of Glass, and I think very highly of Throne of Glass. It is probably my favorite fantasy series of all time. Less mature content than ACOTAR, which maybe is the reason that I like it, that it focuses more on the characters in the story than some of the other content. Now, I don't have all of the books for Throne of Glass because there's a lot more than there is for ACOTAR. ACOTAR is like 3 main books, a novella, and then the Silver Flames one, but Throne of Glass has a lot. It has, how many? 8 books, and I have 2 of them. And the 1st book, I have a collector's edition of it. It's so pretty. It's like a hardback, and it has like this on it, and then this, which you will know if you've read the series what this is, and it just says Meet the Assassin. I don't know if there's a blurb on this that I can read to you. I don't believe there is. Let me see if I can find it. I don't believe there is. There's a map that I don't remember there being a map in the original book when I read it. Because I read online versions of it. That is why I don't have a lot of the books. But basically, if I remember correctly, because it's been a while since I've read this and it's a very long series, but basically Throne of Glass is about this assassin. So the book starts off and she's an assassin. So technically the first book in the series is Assassin's Blade, but Assassin's Blade is a prequel. And I read Assassin's Blade after I had read the entire series. So I read Throne of Glass, this one, first, and then all the rest of the books, and then Assassin's Blade last. But Assassin's Blade is so good. Like I do not recommend you skip it. You should definitely read Assassin's Blade. Doesn't matter what order you read it in, because the events are kind of spoiled in Throne of Glass anyways. Like it tells you what happens, some people die, it tells you who dies in Throne of Glass. So it starts off, she's an assassin and she's been kept in this like camp kind of, and the king's guards get her out and they want her to participate in this tournament as the princess champion or whatever, and blah blah blah, and it goes on, and there's also some fae stuff and there's some magic stuff, and very good series, highly recommend. The other book in the series that I have is Heir of Fire, which is book 3 technically, but if we're counting Assassin's Blade the prequel, then it's book 4, because it's Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, and then Heir of Fire. This one, without spoiling too much, it's the book that Rowan gets introduced in, I believe. Is it? Yes, this is the book that Rowan is introduced in, and that doesn't give too much away because you won't know who Rowan is until you read the series, but Rowan appears in this book. And then last, Throne of Glass is top, by the way, so you're probably wondering who's in the middle. If ACOTAR is third, Throne of Glass is first, who's in the middle? I'll tell you. It's Crescent City. Crescent City I would rank number 2. There's only 2 books, and because it's meant to be a trilogy, but the 3rd book comes out this month, January. So yeah, this is the first book in Crescent City, House of Earth and Blood. Bound by blood, tempted by desire, unleashed by destiny. Bryce Kinlan used to light up Crescent City, partying all night in the clubs where the strict classes of angel, shifter, human, and fae merged into a sea of beautiful bodies. Then a demon murdered her closer friends, which, kind of a spoiler, a demon murdered her closest friends. 2 years later, when the supposed killer is behind bars, but the crimes start up again. The city's leaders command Bryce to investigate. They assign an enslaved fallen angel, hunt Athalar to make sure she does. But yeah, I don't think it spoils too much. She's a fae, but it talks about like her life, what her strengths are, and then it like delves into some, obviously there's romance and there is some mature content in this one as well. But yeah, lovely book, lovely series. This one has a map too. All of those books have maps. And then the second book in the series is House of Sky and Breath, and I have this one in hardback and this one in paperback because this one I bought right when it came out, so obviously there wasn't paperback available, but this one already had paperback available. But yeah, I'm probably gonna have the 3rd one in in hardback as well, because I'm gonna try and get it when it comes out. So yeah, that's that. Okay, this one I don't have all the books for because I bought it very recently and I was too impatient to wait to buy the next book, so I just read them online. But The Poppy War, I was recommended this by 2 different people. One of them being Rania, who was texting me while she was reading the series a little while ago, and I remembered nothing of her reactions as she was reading it, but I went back and I read them after I finished the series, and it's crazy that I didn't remember any of the things because she told me how it ended. Like, she told me what the ending was and I just didn't remember as I was reading The Poppy War. But The Poppy War is really good. Highly recommend it, but it gets very graphic, and not in a mature kind of way. It gets graphic in like violence, war crimes kind of way, because I mean, Poppy War, there's a war going on, multiple wars actually, but I don't want to spoil too much, but there's a war going on. So highly recommend if you're triggered by stuff or you're not comfortable reading graphic violence type content, please look up the warnings for this one because it goes into detail about some stuff. Anyways, The Poppy War is really good. It's basically about this girl called Rin, and she's from the south of the country. There's a map in this one too. It's based on China, I believe, but the country is called Nikan. And she basically gets top marks in this exam, and she goes to study at the academy. I'm not sure how the academy is pronounced, Sinigard or Seingard. I've been saying it's Sinigard, but She goes to study there and she meets some of the other people who have gotten in, and they're all like the elite, you know, because it's like the top academy in the country. But there's like tensions between their country and another country, and it's like brewing tensions of war, and obviously, you know, because it's called the Poppy War, there is a war. But yeah, and it also talks about kind of like her origin, because the book starts off and she's fostered by this family called the Fangs, because her name is Fang Runin, but she goes by Rin. So it talks about like her origin, you know, because she's adopted. But yeah, very, very good series. There are a lot of very good friendships in this series. Like, I don't want to spoil too much, but there's a friendship in there that I'm still thinking about now, and it's been a while since I finished not that long since I finished the book, but they haven't left my mind. I'm obsessed with the friendship because it's written so well. Like, I feel like it's so hard to find friendships that are like male and female friendships, because a lot of the time they just make it a romance straight away, but this here they don't, and they build the friendship so beautifully, and I don't know, I'm just obsessed with it. And if you find it weird that I'm talking about this more than I've talked about some of the other books, it's because I just finished this series, so it's still fresh in my mind, but I love it. I love it so, so much. I think of all the authors that I have like multiple book series for, this author I have the most for, because I'm actually obsessed with her books. Okay, I'm gonna go by chronological order and not publication order, because it's easier that way, because I don't know when these books were published exactly, so I'm going by chronological order. Okay, these are Cassandra Clare's books, Shadowhunter series. You might be familiar with the TV show or the movie. I'm not the biggest fan of the TV show or the movie. I don't feel like they were very accurate with the casting, or like, I don't know, I didn't like it. But first, chronologically set. So they also only made the movie and the TV show about the immortal instruments, and there's a whole lot more stuff where that came from some of the other series. And personally, in my opinion, the Immortal Instruments I would rank the lowest out of all of her series in the Shadowhunter world. Not that I didn't like it, I did like it, but the other ones stuck with me more. Maybe it's because the Immortal Instruments is the longest one, but that doesn't really make sense because Throne of Glass was also very long, and it was my favorite. Anyways, the first series, set chronologically, The Infernal Devices, Clockwork Angel, Clockwork Prince, Clockwork Princess. These three. I got these from Rania as a gift, so they all match up. But yeah, 3 books, 1, 2, 3. The epilogue for Clockwork Princess makes me cry every time, not because it's sad, but I don't know how to describe it. It's kind of like a bittersweet thing because it's like the end of an era. But yeah, I was just talking about the Poppy War, and I was explaining how much I loved platonic relationships. Very strong platonic relationships in all of these books. You can't see them, but they're all spread out here. Very strong platonic relationships. And two of my favorite fictional characters, maybe of all time, are in these books. Jem Carstairs and William Arundel. So this series is centered around 3 people: Tessa Gray, Jem Carstairs, and Will Arundel. Jem and Will, I love them. I love them a lot. So, some context about the Shadowhunter world before I start talking about any of these books. Shadowhunter world is basically, the characters are usually Nephilim, so they're part angel, part human, so basically they're kind of descended from angels, if that makes sense. I don't fully remember, it's been a while since I've read these, give me a break. And they go around and they kill demons. And there's werewolves, vampires, warlocks as well. It goes into all of that detail, but the series is mainly centered around the Nephilim. So, Infernal Devices. This is set in London, so I study in London. If you didn't know from my previous videos, I study in London. So I actually went and visited a lot of the places where some of these take place. So this is the first one. I've never actually taken these out of the book because I've already read these. I never actually took them out of the wrapping. But anyways, this is Will. He's on the front cover. But yeah, I don't want to spoil too much, but this is, I don't remember when this is set actually. I think it was the 1800s, late 1800s, that is. I don't remember if it says actually. It should do. There's a map. Oh, there's a map. I didn't even know this. Let me check. 1878. That is when, 1878, that's when it starts. So, not modern era, but she does have books that are set in the modern era. So that's the Infernal Devices. I'm gonna put that to the side. Next chronologically set is The Last Hours, which is about the children of some of the characters from the Infernal Devices. It takes place right after, kind of. Another 3 books. It's a trilogy. I'm trying to find the first book. This is the first book, Chain of Gold. Second book, Chain of Iron. Third book, Chain of Thorns. Now, the reason this one's different is because I bought it right when it came out, and these I read online and then bought the books, so these 2 match. This one doesn't. This is set, what year is this set? Let me see. This one's also set in London, by the way, because obviously it's the kids. I don't think it says what year it's set. Let me check the other one. 1897. Wait, no, that's in the past because that's a flashback. It doesn't say. I believe it's set early 1900s though, as far as I'm aware. So those are those 3. The covers are beautiful though. I'm obsessed. They all kind of have platonic relationships, very heavy, because they have this type of bond called parvatai, where you have to bond, where you bond yourself to someone. You don't have to do it, but you bond yourself to someone, and they're kind of like your life partner, and you're not meant to fall in love with them. So very platonic. Then the Mortal Instruments, which is the most common one that people know of. I don't have all of the Mortal Instruments books because there's 6 of them, but I have book 3 and book 6. It's an odd number, I know, but I got them as a gift. So book 3, which is City of Glass, and book 6, City of Heavenly Fire. The covers. This is, I believe that's Jace. I don't remember who that is. Oh, I forgot to show you the other characters. Okay, this is the main character, Cordelia, in The Last Hours. This is Lucy, and this is Grace. Now, I believe they have some of the other characters in the Infernal Devices because I showed you Will. This is Jem. He has silver hair and he plays the violin. Will reads a lot, and his favorite bookshop is also my favorite bookshop, one of, and that's Tessa. But yeah. And then the final, wait, I should check what year those are set, but the Mortal Instruments is set more modern era, not modern as in like 2020s, modern as in like 2010s or 2000s, I believe. I'm not 100% sure, but it takes place way more in the future. And then the last series, she's writing another one, Cassandra Clare. I can hear police sirens outside. They might be coming to clean up people. She's writing another one, her last one, I believe. And it's about some of the characters from The Dark Artifices, which is the last series. But it's not out yet. So for now, I have all of them. So The Dark Artifices, 3 books again, trilogy. All of them are trilogies except for the Mortal Instruments. But the Dark Artifices is set 2012. And it has some of the characters from the Mortal Instruments because it's set right after. So this is the first book, Lady Midnight. And then Lady Midnight I have in a smaller version, but the next 2 books I have in the bigger versions. This is Lord of Shadows. It's kind of big. And Queen of Air and Darkness. This one is massive. This one I bought right when it came out. Like, that's why I'm surprised that I have a paperback of it, because I remember buying it right when it came out, and I remember I went to the shop and I was so surprised that they had a paperback, because I was like, this just came out. Like, why do you even have a copy of it? Like, I didn't expect it because we were traveling as well. But yeah, that's all the Shadowhunter stuff that I have. I will forever remember this as one of my favorite series, and like, I read it a long time ago. Started a very long time ago when I was in like maybe primary school or early secondary school stuff. So yeah. Another series that I only have the first book for, and that is because I bought a fancy special edition of. That's so loud. I have the first book of the Shatter Me series. Very pretty. It's so gorgeous. I'm obsessed with it. It's so good. There's a lot of Shatter Me books, and there's a lot of novellas in between. They're being really loud outside. I really hope this doesn't come through in the audio. I'm gonna cry. But Shatter Me, I don't know how to describe it. Oh yeah, look at this, look at the papers. Oh my god, they're so pretty. Shatter Me. I can't find a blurb, but Shatter Me is about a girl called Juliet Ferrars, and she's kind of in the beginning locked up in this prison. And they suspect she has powers of a sort, or is that how it goes? I don't fully remember because I kind of like blacked out as I was reading it. It was, I just sped through it, but it's very good. There's a very good love interest, which I'm not gonna say the name of because she kind of has, I don't want to spoil anything, but I don't want to say the name of the love interest, but he's incredible. I love him, maybe one of the best. But there are a lot of books and there's a lot of novellas, and I do recommend reading the novellas and looking up the order of how to read them in because it can be a little bit confusing. But oh god, these are a mess. Why are these so, okay. So I let my sister borrow these and they're kind of a mess because they were not like this when I was reading them, but okay. You will know this as soon as I put it up because who doesn't know these books? There we go. Percy Jackson. I have all of the original ones, and I have these covers of them. So it's like the OG, I guess, because I don't know if they sell these anymore, but I do have these, and they're very good. Percy Jackson is such a good book series. Unfortunately, I don't have Heroes of Olympus, but I bought them recently for my sister as a birthday present, so she has them. But if you don't know, if you haven't read Percy Jackson is basically, it's a series about the children of Greek gods and goddesses, so they're all demigods, and Percy Jackson is a demigod. Now, I don't think it really spoils anything if I tell you who he's the son of, because this is the cover of the book. He's literally standing on water with a man who has a trident, so you can probably tell. Does it say in the blurb who he's the son of? It doesn't, but I don't think it's that hard to figure it out. He's the son of Poseidon, basically, and he has to set out on a quest, and the first book is called The Lightning Thief. So, as you can tell, there's a quest because there's a lightning thief. Zeus's master ball was stolen, and he has to figure out who stole it, and he has to get it back. But yeah, very good series. There's 5 books in Percy Jackson and the Olympians. There's 5 books in Heroes of Olympus, and Rick Riordan's writing a new series. And the first book came out this year, Chalice of the Gods, and there's going to be 2 more, and it's Percy after Heroes of Olympus. But yeah, very good series. Highly recommend. Okay, we're sort of moving on just for a little bit from like novels to manga, because the shelf under is my manga stuff. I don't have a lot of manga. I have some. I've ordered some new ones and they should be coming soon, so if they come before I post this video, then I will do a little segment talking about the ones that I got, but I don't think they will. Anyways, I don't have a lot of manga. Again, repeating. I only have one Bungo Stray Dogs thing, and it's the Stormbringer light novel. Yes, because it's written. Very good. Bungo Stray Dogs is quite good. It's basically about these people and they have abilities, and it's set in Yokohama, which is a city in Japan. And they have abilities, and there's different types of organizations. There's a port mafia, there's the armed detective agency, the ADA, which our main character joins. Our main character is called Atsushi Nakajima, but this book does not feature Atsushi because it is set pre the canon, and this hasn't been animated yet because the anime kind of doesn't adapt a lot of the light novel stuff. I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of some of the stuff that the anime studio does with the manga content. The studio isn't bad. Studio Boons is good because they do a couple other animes that I like. They do Skate the Infinity, they did Fullmetal Alchemist, and My Hero Academia. So I don't know what happened with Bungo. Hold on, my phone's gonna die. Plug it in. Yeah, I don't know what happened with Bungo Stray Dogs, but I have that light novel. And then, so if you know anything about me, you know that Jujutsu Kaisen is my favorite anime of all time, and so thus it is my favorite manga of all time because I am a manga enjoyer. I'm up to date with all the manga content. I don't own a lot of the manga, but the ones that I do have are chosen very carefully. So I have both of the light novels, which they're not really canon, I wouldn't say. They're not really set in canon, but they're very thin light novels, so, you know, they're written, both of them. And then my manga that I've chosen very specifically. I have volume 0, which Akatsu Yuta, he's my favorite character, if you didn't know. So volume 0 takes place a year before the canon events of Jujutsu Kaisen, and there's a whole movie made about it, and it's one of my favorite movies of all time. But yeah, just a little peek. I love 0. And then I have volume 16, which is actually the volume that the anime is on right now because they animated. So if you've been keeping up to date with anime content, this is the scene that season 2 ended on. So you can see there's quite a bit left in this volume that they haven't animated that I'm very excited to see them animate soon. But yeah, there's some stuff here that they haven't animated. Even before this, there's stuff that they haven't animated. Some Zenin clan stuff that I don't want to say too much without spoiling, but this is that iconic Utah moment where he says that he'll kill Itadori Yuji. But yeah, volume 16 is where we're at, and I specifically got this because this is the volume where Utah comes back in the canon timeline. And okay, next, I only have one volume, but I have volume 39 of Yona of the Dawn. Yona of the Dawn is really good. Oh, there's actually a blurb here. Don't need it. Yona of the Dawn is about a princess called Yona and her kingdom, and basically on her 16th birthday her cousin kills her dad, and she runs away with her guard, and basically she's been a sheltered princess this entire time, so she doesn't really know how her kingdom works. So she goes into her kingdom with her guard, and she gathers like a bunch of people, not a bunch, like 5 people with her, and she learns about her kingdom, and she learns how to be a better ruler and stuff, and very good. Highly recommend. Let me see if I can find a picture of Yona without spoiling too much. This is Princess Yona. That's Hawk. That doesn't really spoil too much. I haven't read the last couple of chapters for Yona of the Dawn, so I do need to catch up on that, but Yona of the Dawn. And then I have one volume, Seraph of the End, volume 14. Seraph of the End is about vampires. There's no blurb here. This is just the blurb for this volume, but it's about vampires, and there's people who have powers, and they have magical weapons. Well, not magical weapons, but they're like super strong weapons, and these weapons have like demons bound to them, and that's why they're strong. But yeah, 2 main characters, Yu and Mika. I can't spoil that. And then I have 2 volumes for Attack on Titan, but I've ordered more, a lot more, like 4 more volumes. I have the last 2 volumes. I have 33 and I have 34. I love these. So I bought these before Final Season Part 3 came out. So before the episode in March and the episode that was not that long ago. And I read these. And yeah, it's so good. I love Attack on Titan. It's very good. If you don't know what Attack on Titan is, it's basically Attack on Titan. The plot changes as the seasons go on, but let me think. Season 1, they live in a world, and all of humanity is behind these walls because there's these creatures, these titans roaming the outside, and they're big and they eat humans. So the only place that they're safe is inside the walls. But one day, the titans breach the wall, and it sets off a chain of events of the main character and his friends joining the army and like fighting to learn how to fight and kill these titans and blah blah blah. The plot changes as the seasons progress, but that's how it starts off in the beginning. Attack on Titan is one of the best anime that I've seen. If Jujutsu Kaisen is my number 1, Attack on Titan is my number 2. But the like genius of Attack on Titan is unmatched. The plot twists, the links, like I rewatched Attack on Titan recently, and the things that you notice in the first season that aren't explained, or like you notice things in the first season that you wouldn't notice your first time watching because they talk about that kind of stuff in like the final season, and you're like, oh my god, you start noticing things that you wouldn't have noticed otherwise. This is incredible. The manga that I have the most books for is Demon Slayer. I have volume 8, which is Mugen Train stuff. So, spoilers, if you haven't seen Mugen Train, this is the volume where Rengoku dies. Let me find the scene, but this is the one where Rengoku dies. It's literally the exact volume. Where is it? There we go. He dies here. But yeah, Demon Slayer. How do I explain Demon Slayer? The title is also pretty self-explanatory. Demon Slayer, he slays demons. Basically, Tanjiro, he's the main character. His entire family gets killed by demons, and his little sister gets turned into a demon, and his entire mission is to find a way to turn her back into a human. That's like the base essence of it, and he meets different types of demons, and he meets like, I don't know, it's really cool. And so I have this volume, and then I also have volumes 12, 13, 14, and 15, which encompass the entire Swordsmith's Village arc and the training arc. Swordsmith Village arc is season 3 that came out not that long ago, so I have all of those, and the training arc. So this is volume 12, which has Muichiro on it. He's another Hashira. Hashira are like the strongest swordsmen, so Rengoku is a Hashira, Muichiro is a Hashira. This is Genya. He has a gun. He's very cool. This is Mid-City. She's another Hashira, and I love her so much. And this is Gyome. He's also a Hashira, but he's known as the strongest Hashira, I believe. So yeah, that's Demon Slayer. And then I have 2 volumes for Chainsaw Man. I have volume 7, and I have volume, what is this? 10. 7 and 10. Chainsaw Man is a man with a chainsaw. That's kind of, this is the main character. His name is Denji. He had a pet, and the pet was a chainsaw devil, but he was like a little cute little dog. And the dog died. That happens in episode 1. It's not really spoilers. He died, and he kind of fused with the dog, and so now he is the chainsaw devil, and he has this little string on his chest that if he pulls it, he has a chainsaw on his head, and blades come out of his arms and legs, and he's quite cool. And then I have volume 1 of Haikyuu. Haikyuu is a volleyball anime, sports anime. It's a great difference from all the other mangas and animes that I have, because this one is no angst, happy, feels, friendship, vibes, you know how it is. Very positive. I'm a big fan of sports animes. I like this. I like Blue Lock. I don't have any Blue Lock though, but I want to get some soon. This Blue Lock free skate, I guess. Yuri on Ice. Is that all of them that I've seen? I feel like there's one more. No, I think that's it. But I love them all. And then I have volumes 9 and 18 of Full Metal Alchemist. Love it. Full Metal Alchemist is very good. This is the main character. His name's Edward Elric. Basically, Full Metal Alchemist is these 2 brothers, Edward and Alphonse. Edward's the main character. And he has a metal arm and a metal leg. But basically, it's their journey of getting their bodies back together, because Al is just a suit of armor. And so it's like their journey of trying to get their bodies back together, because they lost them a long time ago. And it's very cool, and I love it. I haven't read the manga, but I've watched the anime and I love it. But I watched the Brotherhood version. I didn't watch the 2003 version. And then I also have the Full Metal Alchemist 20th anniversary book, which is very cool, and it has fancy papers, and it's hardback and like gold, and that's Edward and that's Al. And yeah, those are all of the manga that I have, but I ordered some Demon Slayer ones and some Attack on Titan ones, and I think a volume of My Hero Academia, so hopefully those get here soon. But yeah, back to regular fiction stuff. Let me put these in an organized way. So first, a classic, The Hunger Games. I have this type, which apparently I read somewhere they don't sell anymore. These are like the original versions or whatever. Hunger Games, Mockingjay, Catching Fire. Now, I think most people know what Hunger Games is, because there are movies of them as well, and most people have probably seen the movies, but if you don't know, The Hunger Games is a trilogy, and it is about this girl called Katniss. And basically it's in a world that is separated into 12 districts and the capital is where all the rich people live. And a long time ago, the districts tried to mount a rebellion And so the Capitol imposed this thing called the Hunger Games as a punishment for them. And the Hunger Games is basically, they pick at random a male and a female from each district, and they're sent to the Capitol to fight to the death until there's only one person remaining. And so in these books, our main character is a girl from District 12 called Katniss Everdeen, and she's sent into the games. But it's because she volunteers for her little sister. And yeah, very good book series. There's 3 books, and then Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which is a prequel set years before this one, because this is, the Hunger Games is the 74th Hunger Games, and this takes place during the 10th Hunger Games. So it's basically, it's the origin story of Coriolanus Snow, who's the president of the country in the Hunger Games movies. So this is his backstory, how, you know, yeah. Okay, now I have some sci-fi stuff. So I love sci-fi books. There's this series called The Three-Body Problem. They're making a Netflix show of this soon, but the book series is very good and I highly recommend. This is book 1, Three-Body Problem, and then you have The Dark Forest, and then Death's End. This one's a bit bigger than the other 2 though. So this book series is actually not originally in English. What I have is a translation. It literally says translation. But it's a very good book series. It's set in 1967, apparently during China's Cultural Revolution. It's very kind of physics based, so there's a lot of technical language, but it's kind of Beijing police ask nanotech engineer Wang Miao to infiltrate a secretive cabal of scientists after a spate of inexplicable suicides. Wang's investigation will lead him to a mysterious online game and immerse him in a virtual world ruled by the intractable and unpredictable interaction of its 3 sons' three-body problem. Basically, the three-body problem is an actual thing in physics where because it's hard to predict the movement of 3 different bodies. It's easier to predict the movements of 2 bodies, but 3 is very unpredictable, so three-body problem. This is their three-body problem, and is the key to everything, the key to the scientist's death, the key to a conspiracy that spans light years, and the key to the extinction level threat humanity now faces. Very good. And I'm very excited to see the Netflix series of it. Another sci-fi series that I have, one that I read before I read The Three-Body Problem, is called The Themis Files. So the first book is called Sleeping Giants. I love the covers for these. So this is the Sleeping Giants. It's written kind of different than normal books because it's written in like interview form and like logs and stuff like that. So it's very interesting. As a young girl, Dr. Rose Franklin made a life-changing discovery. Hidden deep underground, she found an ornate metal hand. Tests prove the artifact predates all human civilization. Dr. Franklin leads the top-secret investigation to the mystery of its origin, but finds answers leading her to awe-inspiring questions. But when it emerges that there may be more pieces buried out there, a fierce race begins to solve this vast global puzzle. Now, there's 3 books, it's a trilogy. So, Sleeping Giants, Waking Gods, book 2. I love the covers on these. And then Only Human, which is the 3rd one. And I have this one bigger than the other ones. I don't know if that's how it came, but they're also all written the same way in logs form. And then, which I'm sure a lot of people have heard of this, I have Dune. Fantastic book series. I love all the Islamic and Arabic kind of like background and influence that it has, but it's very good. This is kind of like an OG sci-fi novel because it was written a long time ago. And a lot of people say Space Odyssey and Foundation series were kind of like the precursors to sci-fi. Like that's what started sci-fi. But in my humble opinion, I wasn't the biggest fan of Space Odyssey and Foundation. Dune though, I love Dune. The movie's pretty accurate. And I do love the book series. It was written, I don't know when it was written actually. I don't know if they have the date in here. 1965. So it's not crazy old, but it is kind of old. It's set, it's sci-fi, so space. This is different than the other ones in that it's not set on Earth. There's not really an Earth, but the main character is called Paul Atreides, and his family gets moved from their home planet what is their home planet called? I don't remember what their home planet is called, but they're sent to a planet called Arrakis, which is basically all desert. and there's a prophecy and everything. It's very interesting. It's hard to explain, but highly recommend it. So this book series actually has a lot of books, but I'm not gonna pull all of them out and bring them all in because my sister's borrowing one of them. So it's gonna be kind of weird to have a book missing, but this book series is called I Am Number 4. This is a cover that I'm not the biggest fan of because it takes a picture from the movie, and I wasn't a huge fan of the movie because they only did one movie, but there's a lot of books. But basically, it's kind of like, it's based on these people, these aliens that have come from another planet, and they left their planet because it like got destroyed a long time ago. And it's centered on number 4 because there's 9 of them. So the main character is number 4, and this one at least, they feature POVs from the other characters in the other books, but 4 is our main character in this one. And the series is named after him because he is the main character. And he's living as a human, but obviously he has his own powers. And in the other books we meet some of the other numbers, the other aliens, and we learn about them, and there's an enemy alien race, and there's like a fight and everything. It's very good. I don't hear this talked about almost ever, but it's a very good sci-fi series. It's actually one of the first sci-fi books that I read, and I highly recommend it. There's a decent couple of books. There's I'm Number 4, there's Power of 6, Rise of 9, Revenge of 7, Fall of 5, Fate of 10, and United as 1. So, I'm Number 4, Power of 6, Rise of 9, Fall of 5, Revenge of 7, Fate of 10, United as 1. So that's 7 books, which is not too bad actually. Harry Potter has the same. I have kind of a mismatch of books with me now because I've just plucked out a bunch from my shelves. So I'm kind of like gonna just say them randomly. I didn't bring all of these. I have all the books. I've had them for a very long time. Harry Potter. I'm sure everyone and their mothers and fathers knows what Harry Potter is, but I do love it. It's a great series. So this one. Let me see. Okay. Iron Widow. Iron Widow is really good. It reminds me it's very similar to Pacific Rim, if you've seen Pacific Rim, and there's huge robots and they're controlled by 2 people. But very good. Is there a blurb though? Aha. The boys of Huaxia dream of celebrity status that comes with piloting chrysalises, giant transforming robots that battle the aliens beyond the Great Wall. See, similar to Pacific Rim. Their female co-pilots are expected to serve as concubines and sacrifice their lives. When 18-year-old Zetian offers herself up as a concubine pilot, her plan is to assassinate the ace male pilot responsible for her sister's death. But on miraculously emerging from the cockpit unscathed from her first battle, she is declared an Iron Widow, the most feared pilot of all time. Now that Zetian has had a taste of power, she has her sights set on a bigger thing. The time has come to stop more girls from being sacrificed. But yeah, I love it. This person describes it as The Handmaid's Tale meets Pacific Rim. So I haven't watched or read The Handmaid's Tale, but this is a very good book. She looks so cool. So there's this. The Secret History I read recently-ish, as in this year. Very good. It's basically set in this college, and there's how many characters? I don't remember how many, but they're all very different. And the book starts off by telling you that they've killed one of their members of their group. It literally says it in the first 2 lines. The snow in the mountains was melting and Bunny had been dead for several weeks before we came to understand the gravity of our situation. It literally tells you. And then it kind of goes back, tells you about the lore, their backstory, how the main character met all of them, the events that progressed to killing Bunny. Very good. Seen it described as dark academia. I haven't read a lot of dark academia, but I know Babel is apparently one of them, and that's on my list, so I'm gonna buy Babel soon, hopefully. But The Secret History is very good. I wasn't expecting to like it, but it's really, really good. And then, maybe it's weird of me to say this when I haven't read Lord of the Rings, but I have read The Hobbit years and years ago, a very long time ago, I don't remember. But I have the Silmarillion, which, if you don't know, Lord of the Rings movies are some of my favorite movies of all time. And the Silmarillion is kind of a backstory / basis lore about the universe that Lord of the Rings is set in Middle Earth, and it tells you about the origin of the world. So like their creation of everything from the very, very beginning to kind of where the Middle Ages and the Golden Ages and elves and everything, how all of them came to be in the world. It's very interesting. It might be boring to some people because it's a lot of history, but I love it personally. We have all of Dan Brown's books in our house, but the others are my parents' books, and this one is mine, The Da Vinci Code. Dan Brown's books are very good. They're mystery, thriller type books, and they're all set in a span of 24 hours. And he has a couple that all have the same character, which is Robert Langdon. And then Digital Fortress and Deception Point don't have Robert Langdon in it, but they're still very good. It's basically solving a mystery, and they're very like history based, and they go into a lot of very, very cool stuff. Like some of the best books that I've read. I highly recommend it. There's some movies. I haven't seen the movies, I don't believe, but I hear they're good. But The Da Vinci Code is good. Angels and Demons, Lost Symbol, Inferno and Origin. Those are the Robert Langdon ones, and then Deception Point and Digital Fortress are the non-Robert Langdon ones. Digital Fortress was the first Dan Brown book I ever read, so that one's very nice. Wouldn't be a book recommendation video if I didn't tell you about Little Women. I actually got this as a birthday present from someone who spoiled something for me, and I literally ripped the note out, but they literally spoiled it for me, and it was very upsetting. But Little Woman is great. It's about 4 sisters, Jo, Meg, Beth, and Amy, and it's set in 19th century New England, America. Not New England as in England, New England as in America. The March sisters, and it talks about their lives, and them meeting this boy called Laurie, and like the differences between all of them and the different dreams that they have, and like how they go about their life. Very, very good. I did cry reading this, but I won't spoil it for anyone who hasn't read it. And then I have a fancy edition of Alice in Wonderland, which I haven't touched because I read Alice in Wonderland in another book that I borrowed from my aunt, but this one is a fancy one. It's so pretty. I feel like most people know Alice in Wonderland. I don't think that one needs an explanation, but Alice is a girl, and she falls into a hole following a white rabbit with a pocket watch, and she goes down, down, down into Wonderland, which is a world. And then The Martian. Yes, that is Matt Damon. It should be Matt Damon anyways. They made a movie of this, Matt Damon's movie, and I actually watched the movie first, and then I read the book. But basically, it's not about a Martian. It's about a man called, what is he called? What is his name? Oh, they have a map of Mars in it. A lot of the books that I have maps, and I love maps. What is his name? Mark Watney. Basically, he is on a mission with his team in Mars when there's a storm, and he gets hurt, and they think that he's dead, so they leave Mars without him, and he has to find a way to survive on Mars until someone can send him help. And like it kind of talks you through the whole thing, and how he tries to grow food on Mars, and like he's surviving in the accidents that happen to him, and how he like goes through all of it. The movie's very, very good as well. Matt Damon plays him. It's a big cast actually. Jessica Chastain is in it. Sebastian Stan, some other people that I don't remember, but it's a big cast and I know a lot of their faces. But yeah, highly recommend. This is actually the last batch of books. Definitely not all the books that I have read because I don't own all of the books that I've read, but this is the last batch of books. The Maze Runner. Of course, I had to recommend The Maze Runner. I feel like most people also know The Maze Runner, but if you don't know, The Maze Runner is the first book anyways. It's about this boy called Thomas who gets sent up in an elevator to this place called the Maze, and he gets sent up into the middle of the maze, which is called the Glade, and there's a bunch of other boys there, and they've been stuck there for a very long time, the oldest being 3 years, and they've been trying to find a way out of the maze because there's a maze surrounding them, and it's a giant maze, like it's actually massive, and it changes every night apparently, and there's these monsters that roam the maze at night called grievers. And yeah, it kind of talks about, like, you know, I don't know how to say too much without spoiling it, but yeah, classics. actually, these are all the remaining kind of classic older books. Dracula. So I don't know how to explain this one. I feel like a lot of people know who Dracula is. He's a vampire. He's known as the first vampire, I guess. It kind of started all the wars. Not wars, started all the vampire stuff, but this is the OG Dracula novel by Bram Stoker. I love vampires. I was a big fan of the Vampire Diaries. I know that's like not really a basis, but I really like the Vampire Diaries and the originals, etc. But yeah, this is about, you know, Dracula, how he makes his way to like the, I don't know, mainland. Don't know if there's a blurb, but Dracula, do something self-explanatory. And then I have To the Center, Journey to the Center of the Earth, which isn't very big. It's actually quite small, actually. The movie's very good. It has Josh Hutcherson in it, but he was a baby back then. So this is good. But Journey to the Center of the Earth was a little bit boring, I'm not gonna lie. But I quite liked it. Most of the book. In comparison with the movie, a lot of the movie is their adventure in the center of the earth, but most of the book is about their journey to the center of the earth, which kind of makes sense because it's literally called Journey to the Center of the Earth. But it was a fun read. So yeah. I also have Frankenstein, which I don't think I ended up finishing, but Frankenstein is about this man called Victor Frankenstein who makes a monster. Frankenstein's monster. I haven't finished the book, so I can't really say much about it. And then last but not least, Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, which is about this man who is Dr. Jekyll, and he has kind of like an alternate personality that comes out sometimes called Mr. Hyde, and he's kind of like bigger and bulkier. So I don't know how that works, but he like gets bigger and bulkier and has a completely different personality. Like he's kind of a worse person. Like he's not a good person, but like when he's Dr. Jekyll, he's a doctor, you know? Like I don't really know how to describe it, but it's good. I think there's movies made of it, but I haven't seen any. And yeah, that was my little book talk haul intro into booktube. Am I a booktuber now? I love books. I love writing. I love reading. Yeah. Again, if those manga get here, I'll do a little section talking about them. But yeah, that's it for now.